UFC Fight Night 169 takes place in Norfolk, Virginia, and many people believe that this will be one of the weakest fight cards, and he doesn't care. I don't care actually. Chartway Arena will bring many great fighters to me. To me, every MMA fighter is great. So let's break down this main card. The first fight is between Gabriel Silva and Kyler Phillips. Gabriel Silva, he rides on a score of 8 wins, 1 losses, and he had great runs, great finishes, especially in LFA 63 where he turned the lights out on Jake Heffernan. Looking back at this, he has decision wins. He has a jungle fight win over Vinicius Baraldo, but after his unsuccessful UFC debut, he is looking for a way to bounce back. Looking back at his opponent, it's Kyler Phillips, known as Matrix, MMA lab fighter, also a young gun. He is riding on a score of 6-1, and he is making his UFC debut here. At LFA, he was pretty much successful, winning fighters via unanimous decision, Jonathan Kirosh, and Emeka Ifekandu via head kick. So, he is an all-rounder, he has good submissions, he has good finishes, he has good ground game. The other side, Gabriel Silva, a Brazilian guy. He has good triangle choke and submissions, but looking back at this, I think this is gonna be a total war. If you ask me, a total war, and both of these guys are very skillful, good at MMA. I give very slight advantage to Kyler Phillips, because I think he has a bit faster punches and so on, but it's very hard to predict this one. Now the next match, Grant Dawson, also known as KGD, one of the rare fighters from Nebraska. He comes from Stromsburg, Gore MMA fitness athlete, great featherweight fighter, riding a score of 14-1. And back in the other promotions, he was having a great results, winning the majority of his opponents via submissions, especially a rare naked choke, triangle choke. So the guy is a rare naked choke phenom. You don't want to end up on the ground with Grant Dawson. He only lost one match in cage side promotions, KCFA, Kansas City Fighting Alliance 18, via TKO punches against Hugh Pulley. Since then he is on a perfect winning streak, 5 wins in a row against Christian Kemp, Mike Lazola, Adrian Diaz, Julian Rosa, and Michael Trizano. He is squaring off against super experienced Darrick Miner, the guy also from Nebraska City, Nebraska. So this is Nebraska Derby, ladies and gentlemen. Premier Combat Center fighter with a score of 24-10, and the guy, well, Darrick Miner, looking back at him, he was changing a lot of promotions, and he was defeating some very much good names, he was losing to good names, so this guy has experience. At Dana White's Contender Series, he failed to earn his UFC contract, losing to Herbert Burns, whom I interviewed via triangle armbar, but he has good submissions too. He defeated many opponents via rear naked choke, triangle choke, guillotine choke. So yeah, he is a real phenom of ground game, a great BJJ guy, a great submission expert. He kinda reminds me on the new version of Rani Yahya, and wherever he was losing, it was mostly via stoppage or sometimes via decision or submission. It's very hard to submit him unless you're a BJJ phenom. So, looking back at this will be, I can only say this will be a ground war. I highly doubt someone is gonna finish someone. We will probably watch 3 rounds of ground war, but we're gonna see. I give slight advantage to Darrick Miner due to his experience. Now the next fight is between Megan Anderson and Norma Dumont. Megan Anderson, probably the most popular Australian fighter, purple belt in BJJ, score of 10-4. Yeah, she's very popular because of her tattoos and her fighting style. She won the interim Invicta FC Featherweight Championship earlier, where she was later promoted to Undisputed Champion against Charmaine Twitt. And at Invicta, she had 4 wins, 1 loss. After an initial loss to Cindy Dandois, the Belgian fighter, she defeated Amber Leibrock, Amanda Bell, and Peggy Morgan. So she is also the former vacant MMA Featherweight Champion. At her UFC run, she had ups and downs, riding a score of 2-2. decision loss to Holly Holm, rear naked choke to Felicia Spencer. Kat Zingano, well, after a controversial finger to the eye, I mean toe to the eye, she won via TKO eye injury, and she choked out ZARAH FAIRN dos Santos. She squares off against NORMA DUMONT Viana, riding a score of 4-0. This is her debut, a jungle fight, and other promotions. She was defeating all the Brazilian opponents via rear naked choke or decision. So I have one advice for Megan Anderson: just keep the fight standing and you're gonna win. If the fight goes to the ground, the Brazilian girl is a better master of submissions and so on. So Megan is gonna win only if she keeps the fight standing all the time. The next fight is between Magomed ANKALAEV and Yon CUTELABA. Magomed ANKALAEV from Makhachkala, Dagestan. International Master of Sport in MMA and Master of Sport in Sambo, riding a score of 12-1. And the guy who scored Performance of the Night award 2 times. So yeah, a very very tough name. The former WFCA light heavyweight champion who defeated Wagner Prado and Maxim Grishin. And looking back at his UFC result, he was choked out by Paul Craig, then defeated Marcin Prachnio, Klitson Bru, and Dalcha Unjambula, or however you call him, via front kick and punch. So yeah, he is a master striker. I like to call Mr. ANKALAEV a master striker. He strikes amazingly. He has a front kick from hell and the head kicks from hell, so he is very very entertaining to watch. He is solid in wrestling. He is not primarily a wrestler, so you never know. We're gonna see Yon CUTELABA on the other side, the greatest Moldovan fighter. He is a master grappler. He was winning. He won at 2012 European Combat Sambo Championships. He won gold medal, so he is a master of wrestling, a master of Sambo, so a very very tough dude. And in UFC he has a score of 4-3 with losses to Glover Teixeira, Jared Cannonier and Misha Tsirkunov, victories over Jonathan Wilson, Henrique da Silva, Gajimura Dantigulov, and surprising win over Kyle round 3. Yon CUTELABA knows to strike, but he also knows to grapple. On the ground he is extremely dangerous. You don't want to end up on the ground with him. On the other side, Magomed ANKALAEV is better in the stand-up. If the fight remains standing, I give victory to Magomed ANKALAEV. If the fight is going to the ground, then I believe Yon CUTELABA would have great chances of winning it. Despite Magomed ANKALAEV knows to defend submissions well, but we're gonna see what's gonna be brought in that fight. The next fight, ZARAH FAIRN dos Santos. It's kind of surprising that a French girl got the co-main status on this event, but it's also good for the promotion. She's riding a score of 6-3, squaring off against Felicia Spencer. This girl, she had ups and downs, arrived to the UFC with a score of 6-2 and lost via triangle choke in her first UFC fight. The majority of her fights were won via TKO or KO. On the other side, Felicia Spencer, she is a very tough girl, black belt in Taekwondo, black belt in BJJ, riding on a score of 7-1. She took part in a great battle against Chris Cyborg in her last one, where she lost via unanimous decision, but she has rare naked choke wins over Megan Anderson, and that's in UFC 1-1, but at Invicta, she was defeating, just a list, Pam Sorenson, Helena Koleshnik, Akila Alhamed, Amy Coleman, Madison McElhaney, and Rachel Wiley, and she defeated most of them via that stunning rare naked choke. So if Felicia Spencer mounts her back, ZARAH has nothing to look for in this fight. But if the fight remains standing, the French girl is tougher, but I give advantage to Felicia Spencer because she shoots in like a pro, and it will be very very hard for her opponent to defend those takedowns. Now the main event of the evening, the flyweight title fight between the legend of this sport, Joseph Benavidez, and DEIVESON Figueiredo, known under the nickname Daiko or Deus da Guerra. So, Joseph Benavidez. Yeah, Joy 2 times. Yeah, I heard of this nickname, it was earlier, don't know whether it's still actual. Riding on a score of 28-5. He has wonderful wrestling background and he is brown prejudiced in Muay Thai under Duan Ludwig. He's a very very tough fighter who also competed for WEC Bantamweight Championship against Dominic Cruz, where he lost via close split decision. For New Girl UFC Flyweight Championship, where he lost to split decision to Demetrius Johnson, and he was knocked out by Demetrius Johnson in a rematch. So this guy is so close, but he never wins. But he is always close to the title, and he has good strikes, he has good cardio, he is a real cardio machine, good submission skills. He never gets tired, and he defeated in UFC, I mean, many guys: Ian Loveland, Eddie Vineland, Yasuhiro Urushitani, Ian McCall, Darren Uyenoyama, Jussier Formiga, Tim Elliott, Dustin Ortiz, John Moraga, Ali Bagotinov, Zach Makovsky, Henry Cejudo, Alex Perez, Dustin Ortiz, and Jussier Formiga in the rematch. But looking back at this, Sergio Pettis defeated him, Demetrius Johnson, Dominic Cruz. These are very big names. He was losing to big names. DEIVESON Figueiredo, very prospective Brazilian fighter, riding on a score of 17-1. He is a tough fighter, and he arrived to the UFC as an undefeated prospect with a fantastic score of 6-1, so 11-0, great score for him. And after the arrival in the UFC, he kicked off with a victory over Marco Beltran. Then he outworked Jared Brooks for a very razor-close split decision. Joseph Morales and John Moraga were stopped via TKO. Alexandre Pantoja was outlasted. Tim Elliott was stopped via guillotine choke. Jussier Formiga, on the other side, he worked him out. He showed better levels of cardio, which is the reason I believe that Joseph Benavidez might come out victorious if the fight goes to the later rounds. But DEIVESON Figueiredo will go in for the kill. He always goes for all or nothing. He is not a tactician guy. He will fight until the last dying breath, but he always looks to finish the fight. On the other side, Joseph Benavidez should try to push this fight into the later championship rounds if he wants to win. But I'm pretty much sure he's gonna win if it goes to the championship rounds. He failed 3 times. 4th time I don't think he's gonna fail. I always say 4th luck, so I give slight advantage to Joseph Benavidez if he fights wisely in this fight.